welcome to episode 114 of How About Them Huskies. As always, I'm your host, Connor, joined by just Andrew today. And I feel like we're doing these types of episodes more often over the past few weeks because the Huskies lost yet again. They went on the road to Xavier, a game that I feel like I said at the end of our last episode, the vibes I feel like weren't very high. It's a tough place to play. We're kind of struggling without Liam McNeely. Huskies, we thought maybe they could have pulled it out. They ended up losing 76 to 72, a game where they trailed by double figures multiple times and came back both times to, I believe, take the lead each time. But what are your overall thoughts on this one, Andrew? Obviously, we're a few days removed now, so it's no immediate, painful reaction, hopefully. But it's just a game. Obviously, it's on the road against a team that took us to overtime at home the first time, but still, by the way we played with some guys stepping up that we'll get to, I feel like we definitely had the chance to win that one.
Yeah, there's one thing, when you look at this box score, there's one giant flashing red light saying this is why you lost. And I'm not saying it's the only reason, but I mean, Jalen Stewart, 0 points. I mean, it's becoming the Tristan Newton thing when he would have duds like that and we would lose. Stewart, especially without McNeely, we need him to contribute in every single way that he can for us to win games. And it wasn't there against Xavier. Obviously, there were definitely other problems in that game, but I feel like that has to be the biggest talking point was the 0 points from a starter, which shouldn't really happen in any game. Um, Granted, he did only play something like 12 minutes or something like that, I believe. Yeah, 12 minutes, easily the lowest out of the starters. And Jaden Ross had 25, but he only had 2 points. Um, but I think it was just kind of a mess. Cintas and I could hear through my TV. Very, very good environment for that one. And like Jay Billis said when he appeared on our show earlier in the year, every game's going to be a trap game for this. I mean, he was dead right when he said that. And it has showed, at Villanova, complete trap game we lost. At home against Creighton, we even lost. Now this one, third game that we've dropped in Big East play. So I'm not going to hit the panic button yet. Does it suck to lose? Yes. But the big kind of thing here, and I had posted this on Twitter because I had seen all the comparisons about the 2022-23 season. This does not feel like the 23 season. That month of January where we dropped something ridiculous like 5 out of 6 or 4 out of 5. At that time, I thought we would not win another Big East game except for the easy ones. This one, we're just so damn close every single time. And I don't like making excuses on offense or on losses, but McNeely not being in the lineup is a huge reason why we lost a couple of those games.
Yeah, I'll start with Stewart too. He only played those 12 minutes. He didn't look like he had it from the start. And Hurley, I guess props to him, didn't really play him at all unless he really had to when guys fouled out at the end. But yeah, only 12 minutes. Ross played the majority of those minutes. Didn't do much scoring, but he impacted the game other ways. 3 assists. He had that sequence at the end, which I guess we'll just jump right there because I feel like that's the main part of this game. I felt very similar vibes going down the stretch there to that Villanova game. The game, obviously, that we lost, what now, 3 weeks ago, where we had the ball, a chance to tie or take the lead. We got a very lucky second chance. At Villanova, it was like four chances, but this one, Solo got a great look in the corner, but Diarra somehow got that offensive rebound through the trees of Xavier. We got the ball, another timeout, reset. But then the play with roughly 20 seconds left, Diarra has it, hands off to Sampson, back to Diarra. They do a pick and roll. Sampson cuts for the first time all game, and this is credit to Sean Miller and Xavier. Zach Freemantle didn't drop down with Sampson. He hedged. He made a wall pretty much in front of Hassan Diarra. Diarra didn't really know what to do with the ball, forced it over towards Jaden Ross. By the time the ball ended up in his hands with 2 seconds, nothing was going to happen. But what was your thoughts on that whole sequence at the end? I know we probably could talk about this for the whole length of this podcast, but I don't know. I feel like, I guess, props to Xavier. I mean, I hate saying that, but I mean, they mixed it up and clearly messed us up. I'm not blaming Ross at all for him having the ball in that position that obviously wasn't meant to be. But I mean, I don't know. It's just a really weird play, an unfortunate way to end the game.
Well, the instant reaction would be obviously Jaden Ross. Like, come on, you're the one with the ball. But if you actually watch the play, I mean, yeah, you're dead right. I'm not really completely sure what Sampson was doing, kind of just like standing there. But at the same time, you do have to give credit to Sean Miller because that was a great defensive play. Like you said, Diarra saw Freemantle on him, and had no idea what he was going to do with the ball because he hadn't seen that all game. And I feel like that's something you have to do on plays like that. The team plays against the same defense for 39 minutes and 50 seconds. You got to change it if you're going to have a game winner. I mean, if you don't change defense, the likelihood of the other team making the game winning shot is so high. But I don't understand these final possessions that we've had in games, even in games that we win sometimes. I don't understand some of these final possession play calls. I mean, obviously I'm not getting paid the big bucks to coach this team, but I like that play. Like I don't understand it. I don't know why you would do that if you're Dan Hurley, but I mean he made the call and he's the one that's gotta kind of live with it. But I gotta give all the credit to Xavier there. That was some fantastic defense.
Yeah, Hurley said after the game that play was designed to end up in the hands of Aiden Mahaney, who had 14 points, 4 of 7 from the field, 2 of 3 from three. Hurley said that he wanted Mahaney to get it at the top and drive to the hoop, where he's had some success. But I don't know if you remember this, but right when Hurley called the timeout after that offensive rebound, Mahaney was mid drive to the hoop. So why would you call timeout just to reset and have him do it again when he's already pretty much done the play? I don't. That's something I noticed, and I was a little weirded out after I heard that's what he said because that's what Mahaney was doing when you burn your last time out during a live ball. But yeah, I mean Mahaney, he was definitely a highlight for this one. Hopefully, I mean we've said this every episode. These bench guys, they ball out and then maybe they'll do nothing next game. But hopefully Mahaney's finally turned the corner. He looked very confident knocking down those 2 threes at the end of the first half. He also looked confident on all of his drives. Some of them he just didn't get the roll. He got fouled, got to the free throw line a couple times, but I feel like going into next week, played DePaul and obviously the big one on Saturday against Marquette. I feel like if we get McNeely back and we get this version of Mahaney, that's essentially two new players based on what we've had over the past 3 or 4 weeks where we've struggled. And if that's the case, I feel like obviously everyone's down on us. Huskies are still ranked number 25. I see a lot of people not upset about that, but confused why they're ranked. But I feel like we're certainly turning the page, hopefully on this month of January. Obviously, one more game against DePaul, but I feel like February with everyone healthy and a guy like Mahaney peaking could be some good things in store for the Huskies.
Yeah, it's I kind of want to forget about this, but at the same time, a month like this builds character. You'd be lying if you said that the 22-23 team didn't learn from that month of January. So, as much as it is good to forget about this month, you have to realize, holy cow, you got to realize how important Liam McNeely is to this team. And I feel like that's going to have a big play for when he comes back, especially against Marquette, because a lot of what we're missing out of him is just the offensive rebounding and a 3-point shot making. Outside of Solo and Mahaney, really, there's been nobody making threes. I know Ross missed a couple of wide open ones. I think Stewart missed one too. Diarra made one, but also missed one. So there's the 3-point shooting. Just even Caravan hasn't been great from three. So the 3-point shooting is just not really been there with McNeely out of the lineup. And first of all, I'm really excited to see him come back. But second of all, I feel like this team's going to be complete once he comes back. And that's the part I'm looking forward to most, is not just seeing McNeely play. It's just this team being back to the team that we knew it was. We didn't beat ranked Baylor, ranked Gonzaga, Texas at Texas. We didn't win those games for no reason. We're a complete team who was fantastic after a really bad 3 days. So we got to be fantastic after, per se, a bad month.
And I'm glad you brought up the 3-point shooting because we're not a math pod, but I did some math before this for some stats. Alex Caravan, I have his 3-point percentages kind of broken down before, I guess including Maui. So by the end of the Maui tournament, he was shooting 47% from three. Since the Maui tournament, which is also when he got that concussion, he's shooting 35% from three. That's pretty much that whole tough stretch and then the Big East play. And then if you remember, he rolled his ankle against Creighton. I don't think that really affected him too much as he's played ever since, but he's shooting 23% from three since then. So he's a guy who definitely taking a higher volume of shots this year, but he has to be more consistent. I feel like that's all what it comes down to. Because like you mentioned, Solo, he went 3 for 11, but I mean, I'll take a 3 for 11 on him. I don't think he played bad at all. He's been balling out. We'll get to him in a moment here. But I feel like Karaban has to be more consistent, especially with McNeely out, because he's getting more shots. I guess when McNeely comes back, the shots will even out a bit. Karaban maybe won't be taking as many threes, but I feel like he hasn't taken advantage of the opportunity to take more, which he has been. And it's just, I feel like he's not the reason they lost this game. He did end up fouling out on maybe some questionable fouls. I don't know, but it was weird to see Fox Sports posted all five Alex Karaban fouls, which is I've never seen them do that for anybody. That's just the UConn treatment, I guess. But yeah, close to this point, I guess Caravan. I feel like he's not the reason that they've been struggling, but I feel like he's in the spotlight more often than not in these losses.
Yeah, I got one more point to make about him and McNeely, who, funny enough, Matt just texted our group chat telling us to tell you guys that he thinks that Liam is our most important player. And what I was going to say, it's funny that you mentioned Caravan because I was going to say this if I hadn't talked for so long. But I want to see Caravan and McNeely kind of switch positions in a way when Liam gets back. I want to see Liam be the one that's driving to the paint and kick it out to Caravan because honestly, I think that as of right now, Caravan is trying to do too much, and it's not his fault. I mean, we need him to do a lot in the absence of Liam, but I want to see him be that stationary guy in the corners or at the top of the key or on the wings and just take set foot threes that he has time to shoot. I feel like that's the only way he's going to get back to what he originally was, is that if he just gets the ball past him in the corner and he's like Klay Thompson, he just shoots the ball. And Liam McNeely's the one that's driving to the paint. Because I feel like once Caravan drives to the paint and gets blocked, his head's all over the place. So I think that I would like to see them kind of switch positions in a way, like not really, but you know what I said.
Yeah, and I agree with you in a sense. I feel like Caravan, if he wants to go pro, I don't think he's going to be a guy in the NBA that's going to drive to the hoop. He's going to be a guy sitting in the corner or sitting on the wing and catching those feeds for 3 pointers. That's going to be his game. But yeah, who else haven't we really touched upon in this game? The big men, Samson Johnson played well once again. Terrence Reed did, he held his own, I guess. He didn't really do too much, just 3 points, 2 rebounds, and 4 fouls. But Samson, he's low key been one of our best players. I feel like he kind of flies under the radar a bit, but in this one, 31 minutes, 12 points, 4 rebounds, perfect 5 of 5 from the field. I feel like obviously he doesn't do much besides dunks, but he's really kind of evolved that, I guess. I shouldn't say just dunks because he's hitting these tough layups. But I don't know where we'd be without him. I feel like earlier in the year, we were all calling for Terrace Reed to be the starting center. I feel like I definitely said that at some point. I'm sure you said that at some point as well, how Terrace was playing out in Maui. But Sampson has clearly emerged, I feel like, and I'm perfectly fine with him still holding down that starting position. But I don't know. I feel like one issue I have, and it's not on Sampson, it's not a knock on him. He held the ball for half of that final possession. That's just our offense where the center holds it and other guys run around. But I feel like you got to mix it up because you have 22 seconds on the clock. Sampson shouldn't be holding it at the 3 point line for 10 of them. That's just my opinion. What do you think of that?
Here's the thing with something like that. If you're gonna do that, if you want him to hold the ball, you gotta like make him do a pump fake or like fake a move, like swing yourself to one side or something like that. Because what in the hell does just standing there with the basketball do? And I will say this: I see him do this way too much. Just that obviously we all know that he's not going to shoot an open three, but when he just stands there with the ball at his side, like that's not really good. Like that, all that does is give the other team time to set and especially run a defensive double team that they have because nobody's going to be guarding Steve, so he's not going to drive either. So I'd love to see him like do more with the ball, but not do more with the ball. Like do like a pump fake move or like swing the ball around or something like that. Just something besides just standing there looking into space with the ball because that's not fooling anybody, and all it's doing is giving the other team time to set up. So for example, with the last possession, I would have much rather him like catch it and turn or go up for like a pump fake like that, get somebody to bite, maybe get Fremantle to bite or something like that. Just something besides standing there is what I would like to see.
And why not take that open three? I mean, obviously, I know why not, but he came in as a freshman. He didn't play really at all, but the kind of prototype on him was that he was a stretch big, and he did
He
hit one
did hit a three
his
against
freshman
Grambling
year.
State. Actually, I
Yeah.
was at that game when he hit it. Yeah, he had that and a massive dunk.
Yeah, it looked pretty pure too. Obviously, that was 4 years ago, but he came in being able to do that. I highly doubt he's completely erased it from his brain, his memory. But I don't know. I'm fine with him not taking threes as well. But it's just food for thought. But we'll look at Xavier real quick. I mean, he didn't lead the team in scoring, but Dante Maddox, I mean, he must like I don't know what he does when he wakes up in the morning, looks at the schedule and see UConn because he balled out against us in Hartford. He had 14 against us in this game. The two highest Big East scoring games for him were against the Huskies off the bench. Zach Fremantle, he didn't play if you don't remember in that first game. He had 15. Jalen Swain had 15. He hit one of our guys, probably Stewart, honestly, with the too small that everyone saw. Who else? McKnight 11. We held Conwell. That was Hassan Diarra holding Ryan Conwell just 4 points, who came in averaging 16. Great defensive game from Diarra playing through foul trouble. But yeah, Xavier just their big MO was they didn't have anyone show up off the bench in that surprising loss to St. John's, and they had 26 bench points, and that's really what kills you. You got any last thoughts on the Xavier game, Andrew?
I mean, it was a great game to watch. It was really back and forth. There were no real like feelings about who was going to win or who was going to lose really until the final buzzer or when they won. But this is definitely a learning experience, but it's a game that was definitely winnable. And I feel like all three of these Big East losses were winnable, but it's also a huge teaching moment for the team because that was they definitely could have won that game. And I feel like there's going to be a lot of good film in this next film session whenever they do it. But honestly, at this point, I'm kind of confused why Hurley wouldn't run Abraham at all if he's almost the same player as Ross and Ross is just not bringing it on the offensive end. That would be my only question. Because I mean, Abraham, it was Maryland Eastern Shore, I know, but he looked pretty comfortable taking like spot up shots and passing the ball and running the floor. So I don't know why he hasn't gotten any run whatsoever really this year. But I mean, again, I'm not the coach, but that's all I would have to say about this game. We're on to DePaul. Um, Hopefully, knock on wood, we win that one. But just kind of a weird game, honestly. That'll be my final thought. Just a weird game.
Yeah, Noel only played 2 minutes, and I can understand you maybe not playing a point guard over a wing in Big East play because he's the guy having the ball in his hands. I'd rather have a more surefire DR out there over Noel. But I agree, Abraham, I feel like when Jalen Stewart's giving you 12 minutes of nothing except three fouls, and Jaden Ross gives you 25 minutes of solid defense and playmaking. He had that fast break dunk, but really not much potential on the offensive side of the ball, like when you're in the half court set. Why not throw Abraham out there? I mean, he hasn't really played. I don't think he's really played at all or in significant minutes since that Maryland Eastern Shore game. He did have 6 points and knocked down a three. But yeah, I feel like we're almost past the point where they'll make it Noel, who has been playing, but I don't think he'll be too much of an impact the rest of the way. Same thing with Abraham. I don't think we'll really see too much of him, but some guys we will see a lot of next year. This is kind of segueing into the next segment here. The McDonald's All-America game rosters were announced today, and a new program record for the Huskies. Three guys named to the McDonald's All-American game. UConn and Duke are the only schools with three guys. Darius Adams, Braylon Mullins, and Eric Riva, the top three recruits for the Huskies, all of them ranked in the top 30 in ESPN's latest update that came out today. And Braylon ranked highest at 14, Eric Riva's 22, and Darius Adams is ranked 27. And Adams was the highest ranked of the three when he committed. That just shows how good these guys are and the depth we have. I just want to maybe you have any few words to say about that. Obviously, great accomplishment. We've never had three before. We had two, I believe, 25 years ago or so, but never three. It's just really cool to see.
Oh, it's awesome. And it's what winning national championships will do for you. People want to come play for the back to back national champions. We had Castle, who actually signed before we won our first national championship, so we can shut those rumors down, people on Twitter. But I think it's awesome. They're on the same team. I don't know if that's exactly how it works. They are all on the East team. I don't know if they're necessarily playing together or not. I don't really know how the All American game works. I'll admit that, but I think it's awesome. It's great publicity for the university itself to have three McDonald's All Americans on the men's team because, like you said, that's never happened before. There's only one other school that has it, and of course, that's Duke, and two of them are the Boozer twins. Um, but it's going to be awesome. I'm really excited for this class to come in. I've never really been this excited about a freshman class in a long time because, obviously the Fab Five was really kind of a wild card. You had Castle, you had what you had in Solo and Stewart and Ross and Singari, but you didn't really know necessarily how good the other four except Castle were going to be. And obviously they've all been great. But 3 out of 4 McDonald's All-Americans, you know how good they are. So I feel like even if this is considered an off year by some people, next year is not going to be an off year.
Yeah, and those three All-Americans, I mean, the two was Talik Brown and Scott Hazelton in 2000. If you don't know who Scott Hazelton, I didn't until I just looked him up. He played in 42 games over 3 years for the Huskies before transferring to URI, where he was actually kind of solid. But yeah, I mean, we've only had what I'm reading a men's basketball article about Castle being a McDonald's All-American. He was the 12th, so McNeely's 13th. So this is 14, 15, and 16. We've only had 16 all time, and five of them have been in the past 3 years. I mean, before Castle, our last one was Tariq Gilbert. There was a 7 year gap there. Before that, a 7 year gap with Alex Oriaki. This isn't just like a common thing for a UConn program. Kemba was one, Rudy Gayes, have the list here. Villanueva, Khalid Alameen, Hamilton, Marshall, Corny Thompson. Like, not even Ray Allen's on this list, or Shabazz Napier. This goes to show they don't give this award, or this recognition, I guess it is, out to anybody. So really happy to see all those guys get on. Especially happy. If it was just two of them, I'd be upset the third wasn't there. So really, just overall glad to see them there. Unfortunately, those guys aren't going to be able to make an impact in this next game for the Huskies. Kind of moving on to Paul. Obviously, this is a game you expect the Huskies to pull out, but you never know. I guess in Big East play, losing 3 games already out of 9, it's just not a given anymore. But DePaul, who is not what we thought they were going to be coming into the Big East season, they are 10 and 11 overall in the season. Did pick up a win at Georgetown, so they are on the board in the win column. But what's your overall thoughts about this one going in? I mean, you like you mentioned, Jay Billis said every game's a trap game for UConn. I kind of don't really feel like this one is.
Yeah, no, this one is at home. They're running the $25 promo again. I mean, we didn't think Butler was going to be a trap game, and we only beat them by 2. So, I mean, really, who knows? It's hard to judge really any game in this conference so far. If you told me that we were going to hand it to Gonzaga at the Garden, I would have called you crazy. But, this game is obviously, we don't know how the game's going to go, but I feel like there's got to be some anger here and some kind of sigh of relief too. Like let's get this big win by a bunch of points and get McNeely back, something like that. There's got to be some kind of thought there, but obviously it's not official yet that he's going to be back for the Marquette game. That's just what we presume because somebody said he was like taking shots in warmups, so he's got to be on his way back. But this is what I like to call a game that I forget the word. Wow. Confidence game because the month of February is what some people call hell month. 2 against Marquette, 2 against St. John's, the only 2 other ranked Big East teams. So you got those 4. You got Georgetown at home, who's been kind of a wild card every year. You got to go to Providence. You got to go to Seton Hall. You got Seton Hall at home too. So it's going to be a gauntlet of a last month and a half ish of this season. So you really got to get this DePaul game and get right back on the right foot and walk into Fiserv Forum on a Saturday night. That's going to be an easy sellout. There won't be an empty seat in that place. And it's just, you need some kind of confidence. So this, I feel like, has to be an explosion type of win.
And I hope Liam maybe gets a taste in this one. I have the quote here from John Rothstein's Twitter. Source, UConn's Liam McNeely participated in shoot-around today and is making progress towards return, but is not available for tonight's game against Xavier. So he's going through shoot-around, going through the motions. I feel like he will be good if he's going to shoot around a week ahead of the Marquette game. Why not throw him out there on a 10 to 15 minutes restriction against DePaul just to get his feet wet? Because I don't personally, if I was a player, I wouldn't want to be thrown into the fire against a top 10 Marquette team. I'd want to at least get some sort of game action before that. So hopefully we see McNeely in that one. I have the box score from the last time he played DePaul. That was the game he got injured, believe it or not. He did have 9 points, 6 rebounds in that one, but Solo Ball was the story in that one. I feel like Solo Ball's been the story in pretty much every Big East game we played this year. Solo hit 7 threes, 22 points, 6 boards. He is averaging in Big East play 17 points per game. In 2025 alone, that jumps up a point to 18 points per game. I don't think any of us saw that coming out of Solo. We saw flashes in that URI game. Before that, I don't think definitely zero people saw that coming. But in that URI scrimmage, I feel like people saw maybe this guy can play a little bit. He'll be a starter, get his fair share of points. But I mean, I don't think anyone expected him to be averaging this many points in Big East play when the competition theoretically should be harder than it was earlier in the season.
Yeah, I see where you're coming from there, but it's there's so many different things that come into play like late in the season, and it's kind of it's a little hard to like talk about a point like that. But I mean, Solo, if we're gonna talk about him for a second, I feel like he's got to kind of his defense has to get a little better because of how good his offense is. His defense is not up to par. It's just I know he wasn't brought here to be a defensive specialist, but it's almost if like he's not playing it at all. And I feel like if he's not doing that, if he's not like playing at least decent defense in these games, we're gonna lose. But I have faith that he'll be good for the rest of this.
Yeah, there's definitely been signs of improvement, even if it's not huge signs, so definitely a positive there. But for this DePaul game in particular, I feel like it's just, like you said, a great redemption game for the team in between the tough road tests against Xavier and Marquette. I feel like you also said, you can't overlook it because look what happened a week ago against Butler, where you went to overtime in a game where no one really thought the Huskies were going to lose. But I don't know. I just feel like getting these early, it's not really early. This will be our 10th game, midway point through Big East play. But through 10 games, you've played Georgetown once, you've played Providence once, DePaul twice, and Butler twice. So this is your easy half of the schedule, per se. You still have, like you said, Marquette twice, St. John's twice, Creighton once on the road. You could easily be 0-5 in those games. I don't think the Huskies will be, but it's not a stretch at all to say that they're going to lose all five of those games against talented teams. But we'll just move on to maybe some players to watch for this DePaul game. You got any players to watch?
I mean, I'm gonna stick with my Carabin take. No, I'm not. I'm gonna go with Mahaney actually because I realize Liam's not coming back in this game and they can't do what I said earlier. So I'm gonna take Mahaney because I feel like he's gonna he's gonna pour a couple in. I mean that three looked effortless from I said it was from Stores, but that deep one was just insane. And I feel like people have hit those against us all year, and we haven't really hit deep shots like that. So I was very happy to see one go down. But I think he's going to have a really good game and do a little bit of everything. And I honestly feel like if he might get a little more run than Solo, depending on how his defense is. But I'm going to stay with Mahaney for this one.
Yeah, and before I make I was gonna say one more thing about that Xavier game. We saw some weird lineups. There was at one point the lineup was Diarra, Mahaney, Ball, Reed, and Sampson. That was only like a couple minutes, but two centers with essentially three ball handling guards. I feel like we've never seen that from Dan Hurley this season at all. But my player to watch, I'm gonna go with Jalen Stewart. You can probably guess why I'm going with Jalen Stewart. In his past 8 games, he's scored three different point totals. 4, 14, and 0. He's literally, you know exactly what you're getting. He's either getting nothing, a bucket or two, or going off. Hopefully, this is a game where he's going off. He hasn't done that since the Creighton game. Ironically, he goes off in losses. I'm just looking at this right now. He had 14 against Creighton in the loss, 14 against Villanova in the loss. Besides that, I guess the winning formula is Jalen Stewart not to score. Maybe that's a new thing, but I don't know. That's obviously not the case. But you need more consistency out of him, especially with McNeely coming back. Will it be this game? Will it be the next game? Who knows? But one thing is for sure, Stewart's not going to be playing 30, 33 minutes once Liam McNeely's healthy. So take advantage of the minutes you're getting now and produce. He didn't do that in the past few games. Well, Xavier only played 12, but you get my point. All right, you got any last thoughts here before we wrap up? I don't either. So next time you hear from us, well, next time you hear from me will be our next episode. Next time you hear from Andrew, he will be happy. You wanna say it?
Yeah, I was going to say that. So I will be the third guest on the Locked On UConn post game show after the DePaul game. So if you're watching this right now, directly after that game, me and my friends Dan and Mark will be going live on YouTube, taking calls from fans discussing whatever happens in the DePaul game. We have no idea because obviously this is a preview, but I can't wait to hear from all you guys, and it's going to be a great time. So it'll probably be pretty funny too, especially if we lose. So if I can't wait to see you guys on there.
Yeah, us at How About Them Huskies. We're definitely going to collab with Mark very soon on Lockdown. He does a great job. Great audience over there. He does it daily. I wouldn't be able to do this daily. I'd run out of stuff to talk about. So major props to him. And yeah, go check out Andrew joining their live show. They do one every game after the game. It gets very interesting, like he said, especially after losses. So fingers crossed you don't your debut on the live show isn't the DePaul loss. But yeah, that'll do it here. Episode 114. Next time you hear from us, definitely after the Xavier game. And we'll be previewing that one against Marquette, hopefully knowing Lee McNeely's status. I said Xavier game. We're playing DePaul. This has been a long episode. Thank you guys for watching and stay tuned.